If you're a dentist and you're unsure about your career path, then this video is for you. Stick around till the end of this video and I promise you, you'll have a lot more clarity on which path to pursue. If you're new to the channel, my name's Siju Jacob. I've been in private practice for more than 25 years. I've been using a surgical microscope in my private practice for more than 20 years. And I've been training dentists how to use a surgical microscope in everyday clinical practice for more than a decade. Today, I'd like to share with you a concept that I teach virtually every student that comes to me for microscope training. It's called the DIP by Seth Godin. The DIP is a concept described by Seth Godin in a book written by him, which has the same name, The Dip. It's a very small book, less than 100 pages. You can finish the whole book in less than an hour, so it's not a very difficult book to read. However, the concept that Seth describes in this short book is something very, very valuable, especially for professionals who can use it at different stages in their career to ensure that they are proceeding along the right direction. So today I want to break it down, and this is a concept that I teach virtually every student who comes to me for microscope training. And there is a reason why I teach every student that comes to me this concept called the DIP. We'll come to that in a bit, but first let's try and dissect what exactly Seth Godin means by the DIP. Whenever we try something new or venture down a new path, everybody encounters two different stages. The first stage is one where any effort you put in is instantly rewarded with results. So it's a very easy path, you get excited, but sooner or later you encounter the dip. Let me explain this by taking an example. Let's say you're someone who's never seen the inside of a gym. You've never exercised your whole life. On your 40th birthday, you make a decision that you suddenly want to get fit. So you go to the gym, you find out the most expensive instructor, personal trainer, you pay them 6 months in advance, book for like 100 sessions, you book a gym membership for a year, you're really motivated, you get up in the morning, you go to the gym, and you're on track. Fast forward a couple of weeks, or even a month, what happens? You start seeing instant results. You start losing weight because remember, you've never been to the gym. So you start going to the gym, you start exercising, you start eating right, and you start seeing all these positive results. You feel good, right? And people around you start noticing, they give you positive feedback and you start feeling really good. But fast forward 2 or 3 months down the road, you encounter what we call the dip. So once you encounter the dip, what happens? You are still doing the same thing. You are going to the gym, you're eating right, but you aren't seeing the same results. In fact, the results are often inversely proportional. You actually start gaining weight sometimes, and you start getting frustrated. This is what we call the dip. And most people give up during this dip. The people who persist and push through the dip will get through the dip and then get to another stage where again the effort starts becoming proportional to the results. So you start seeing results and then one keeps on progressing and you move to a level known as mastery. So in order to get to mastery and to experience all the amazing benefits that you get when you master any field, you have to push through a dip. And this is what this video is all about, what exactly a dip is and how a dentist or any professional can use it to redirect or channel their career at different stages so that you always are aware that it is progressing in the right direction. So let's look at some of the principles that are common to the dip. So the first principle is anything that is valuable and worth achieving has to have a dip. If it is easy and doesn't have a dip, it isn't valuable. So let's take the example of the six-pack abs, something which virtually every male finds desirable. Okay, you have a cover of Men's Health magazine and you have this model who's got washboard abs. Why is this valuable? Why is this six-pack washboard abs something that's considered valuable? It is considered valuable because to get a six-pack ab, it involves a 1.5 year dip. You need to be extremely disciplined and diet and exercise for a fairly long period, typically a year, year and a half, and only then you have a chance to be rewarded with a six-pack ab. So it has a dip, and that is what makes the six-pack ab valuable. If it was something very easy, if someone could just walk up to the gym and in a few weeks they walk out with a washboard six-pack abs, then it no longer is valuable. So if something is worth attaining, then it has to have a dip. Otherwise, it's not worth attaining. This is principle number 1. Principle number 2 is the people who have gone through the dip and made it to the other side enjoy what we call disproportionate rewards. Now again, let's look at something non-dental. Let's look at Hollywood to illustrate principle number 2. Let's look at Brad Pitt over here, who is what we call an A-list Hollywood actor. Now, Brad Pitt here has a 25 to 30-year-old dip in Hollywood, because of which he enjoys what we call disproportionate rewards. What are those disproportionate rewards? He can command an extremely steep price for every movie that he decides to act in. He has lots of producers queuing in because there are very few A-list celebrities like Brad Pitt who have a 30-year dip in Hollywood, because of which he can command whatever price he wants. There's always a queue of producers outside and he picks and chooses. That's the advantage. That's the disproportionate reward. And the reason why he gets that reward is because he is the best, among the best in his field. And someone who wants the best in that field has to pay him whatever he quotes. The third principle is the dip is there to protect those who have crossed it. Now let's say there's this new actor who just arrived in Hollywood. This guy is young. He just arrived. He is as good looking, if not better, a younger version of Brad Pitt, very good looking. He's younger than him. He can act like him. In every possible metrics, this guy can do pretty much whatever Brad Pitt does. Do you think he can just come onto the scene and upstage Brad Pitt? He can't, because the dip is what protects Brad Pitt from these new arrivals. If this new arrival or the new actor wants to command the same fee and the position that Brad Pitt enjoys in Hollywood, then he needs to go through the same dip that Brad Pitt went through. So the dip protects someone like Brad Pitt from those people who are coming in and trying to dethrone him. So the dip, which once was a struggle for this man, now starts becoming his best friend. It protects him from other people trying to displace him. So this is the advantage of getting through the dip. It starts becoming your best friend. Now let's look at dentistry. Let's say you're a new dentist, you're just starting your career. It pays for you to be aware that if you want to be really good at something, then you need to get through a dip. And how do you figure out what dip to get through? Before you enter this dip, you need to first figure out who do you want to be. You have to do some soul searching because not everybody wants the same path. Dentistry offers you a whole lot of different paths. You could be a teacher, you could get into research, you could be a solo practitioner with just 1 or 2 chairs. You could decide that you want a 10-chair practice. You could be an entrepreneur who wants a chain of clinics. Everybody's different and their goals are different. But the important thing is for you to understand who are you and what makes sense to you. Based on what makes sense to you, you need to figure out who your role model is going to be. And once you figure out who your role model is, then you can go through the dip to attain something which is valuable at the end of that dip so that you can become like that role model. So it's as simple as that. You decide what you want to become, select a role model, find out what dip that role model went through, and go through the same dip, push through the dip, and come out on the other side, and you can be like your role model. It's as simple as that. Let's say there's this young dentist who comes out, practice a couple of years down the road, and he or she suddenly decides that what they want to be is a top cosmetic dentist. All right. So what's the first thing they need to do? They need to choose a good role model. So you do your research, you find out that one of the top cosmetic dentists in the world is this guy that you see here called Michael Appa. So you decide that I want to become like Michael Appa. So the first thing that you need to understand that if you want to become like Michael Appa, then you need to understand that Michael Appa has been through a 25-year-old dip in dentistry, which is why he enjoys certain privileges. And if you want to get there to where he is, then you too need to get through the same dip. Yes, if you're smart enough, you could probably do that in less time. You could work hard, you could learn from his mistakes, and then if it took him 25 years, you could probably do it in 10 years or 15 years. But the point is, you have to put in the work. You can't get there easily. So let's look at some of these principles in relation to this person, Michael Appa. So the first principle, anything that is valuable and worth achieving has to have a dip. If it's easy and doesn't have a dip, it isn't valuable. So he has a 25-year dip, and that's why what he has today, the privileges that he enjoys today, is valuable because of the dip. Okay? If there wasn't any dip and anybody could become Michael Appa, then what he is isn't valuable. It is valuable because of the dip. Principle number 1. Principle number 2. The people who have gone through the dip and made it to the other side enjoy disproportionate rewards. Michael Appa can charge a premium for his services. People who seek his services will have only one question: who is the best? They don't care about the money. He can quote whatever charges he wants. And the reason he's able to do that is he's been through a 25-year dip, pushed through that, come through the other side, and now he's in a state where he is moved on to a level where there are very few people like him to offer the kind of services that he is offering. So as a result, the people who come to him are coming to him in search of someone who is the best at what they do. And for that client, cost is not a problem. They are willing to pay whatever fees that he wants to quote, and that's the disproportionate reward that he commands because he's been through the dip. And the third principle with relation to this dentist: the dip is there to protect those who have crossed it. Now imagine there's a young dentist who's quite skilled. He knows how to prep teeth. He looks at some of the cases that Michael Appa has done and posted on Instagram, and he looks at it and says, hey, I can do as good a prep as this guy. I can do as good a veneer as this guy. So how come he charges so much and I can't? Well, the reason why he charges so much and you can't is because he's been through the dip. And if you are foolish enough to think that you can land up in New York or Dubai and then set up your clinic right opposite Michael Appa's 2 years after dental school and then upstage him, then you are mistaken. Because in order to upstage him, you too have to go through the dip that he went through. And only then you can hope to enjoy the privileges that he is enjoying. So the dip actually protects him from hundreds of dentists who are coming out and trying to upstage him. The dip, which was the tough part for him to get through, starts becoming his friend. So this is how you apply these principles in dentistry as well. For a young dentist, as I mentioned, the most important thing is to choose a good role model. We just discussed Michael Appa. It doesn't mean that everybody has to choose him as a role model because everybody's dreams are different. Maybe somebody doesn't want to become a cosmetic dentist. Maybe somebody just wants to become a great teacher. If yes, then choose a teacher as your role model and go through the dip that teacher went through so that you can push through the dip, come out on the other side and enjoy all the disproportionate rewards that this teacher gets because they've been through the dip. But this is how you choose your career path. First find out what would give you joy and then choose a role model in that field. If you prefer teaching, then find a good teacher. If you prefer solo practice, then find someone who's doing exceptional practice with just 1 or 2 chairs in his clinic. So you choose role models according to what appeals to you, not because somebody else said so. That's the key. And once you do, then just follow the path set by this particular individual and you'll get there and you'll enjoy all the privileges that this person enjoyed. It's as simple as that. It's important to understand whether or not you're in a dip, because only if you are in a dip should you stay in the dip and then push through the dip so that you can come out on the other side. Sometimes you may not be in the dip, and there are 2 other curves that you need to be aware of. First of all is something called the cul-de-sac or the dead end. A cul-de-sac is not like the dip. There is no high or lows. You are always constant and it doesn't take you anywhere. An example is a monotonous job in a run-of-the-mill clinic and you are working, it's not so bad, the boss seems like someone who's decent, you are earning not bad, but it's not taking you anywhere. And it's a dangerous situation to be in because you often don't realize that it's a cul-de-sac. So 5 or 10 years just passes by and you're still stuck in the same job. That's a cul-de-sac. So the minute you realize that something is a cul-de-sac or a dead end, you need to get out. You need to quit as soon as possible and not stick on. So that's one curve. The second curve is something called a cliff. A cliff is a curve where there is a meteoric rise followed by a sharp fall. This often happens when people do unethical things. An example would be an athlete who takes performance-enhancing drugs. The performance soars up until one fine day it comes to light, people find out, and then there's a crash. Similarly, a dentist who's starting their career very early stages but starts doing very unethical stuff, does a lot of treatment which isn't required and starts earning a lot of money. So it seems like this person suddenly becomes successful. That's a cliff, because sooner or later this person's going to be found out. People will realize he or she is unethical, and then there's a sharp fall. So that's a cliff, and you don't want to be in the cliff either. You want to make sure that it is a dip first and only then push through it. I would summarize it like this. First of all, if as a dentist you are stuck in a particular situation, then first identify what is the situation that you are stuck in. Is it a dip? Is it a cliff? Or is it a cul-de-sac or a dead end? If it is a cliff, then you need to quit the cliff. If it's a cul-de-sac, you need to quit that too. You need to quit dead-end jobs. And if it is a genuine dip, then you need to stick through the dip push through the dip and then come out on the other side, provided what's on the other side is something that is valuable for you. The price on the other side should be appealing for you, and only then you need to push through that dip. It doesn't matter if it's appealing for someone else. If it isn't appealing enough for you, then stop what you're doing, change tracks, pursue another path, another dip, and come out on the other side where the price of pushing through that dip is something that is valuable for you. And that's how you figure out which path to pursue in any profession, and dentistry is no different. So how does all this tie up with microscopic dentistry? Well, microscopes too have a dip. There are many practitioners who buy a microscope, bring it into their operatory. Initially, they're very excited and they start using it and they encounter a dip. The minute they encounter a dip, the majority give up. And that's why you find a lot of microscopes being purchased and then parked in a corner in the clinic and never used again. If you want to know how exactly to get through the dip that you will experience when you buy a microscope, then do check out my online course. I teach you exactly what to expect, how to tide over difficulties, how to cross the dip, and then get to the other side so that you can enjoy all the privileges that a microscope user enjoys. Remember, it's a very rare breed of people, general dentists, who learn how to use a microscope and get through the dip. But once you get through the dip on the other side, you belong to that rare 1%, and you can leverage and you can start enjoying very disproportionate rewards compared to the 99% who don't use a microscope. So do check out my microscope course. I've put the descriptions in the link below, and have a look at what it involves to cross this dip associated with microscopic dentistry. If you enjoy content like this, then do check out my weekly newsletter. It's called Wisdom Wednesdays. It's a short email that I send out every Wednesday. It's completely free and filled with tons of useful information. I've put the link in the description below. If you like more content like this, then do check out some of the other videos on this channel. Do share it with your friends who you think might find this sort of information useful. And don't forget to click subscribe, and I'll see you next week with another video. Thanks for watching.